Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl. Hello.
Hello. Hi, friends.
How are you?
I'm good. I mean, Ariel and I had a lot of technical difficulties this morning. So this is like attempt number 2, number 3
Yeah.
for today. So I'm feeling a little like, woo, like trying to get my head like back in the game. But yeah, I'm okay. How are you doing down there, champ?
You know, it's been a bit of a rough few days.
Yeah.
For reference, we're just going to jump right into the Cauldron.
Do
Save
it.
me. Listeners, for reference, today is June 9th, 2025. So we are on day 4, I believe, of these really intense ice raids in Los Angeles. I'm safe. My people are safe. It's just really fucking heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah.
Even that, I know we're in a very privileged place where so many people are not. I would be lying to say if I'm not worried for just the community, right?
Yeah.
Especially everywhere in this country, but especially in California and especially in Southern California, like immigrants are the backbone of this society.
Yeah.
And everyone, like, it does not matter if you got here legally or not, like by the laws of this land, like there's no such thing as an illegal person. And these are the classic tactics of a fascist dictator, right?
Mhm.
It's confuse the masses, make them scared so that they'll hopefully back down. And I am so proud to say that the people of Los Angeles are not backing down,
Yep.
and nor should they. And in fact,
Yep.
they're only getting stronger. So I do think that this is going to make us stronger.
Yep.
Are people being hurt? Absolutely. And we should abhor that and fight hard against that. But I think in the end, it is making us stronger. And fascist regimes always topple.
Yeah.
They never last. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's sort of a cauldron save us for both of us this week because it's such a prevalent and pretty horrific thing. It's also really wild looking at the photos from some of the protests. I mean, and this is really gonna like show my privilege, but it's just like it doesn't look like photos from America. It looks like photos from protests of different countries that don't have democracies or don't like. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, my heart is with all of you guys down there, and I just hope
you.
everyone's able to stay safe. I hope anyone who's been imprisoned gets to get out. I hope like this is fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. Well, one thing I really quickly want to say about what
Yeah.
you just said, how this doesn't look like these protests don't look like they're from countries that have democracies. There's a reason for that. And it's
Yep.
because, and I want to really emphasize this, the protesters are not the ones committing violence.
Yeah.
By pretty much all accounts, from Mayor Karen Bass, from I'm pretty sure even LAPD and Governor Gavin Newsom, the protests have widely been, with very few one-off, exceptions, they've been widely peaceful. People are bringing their children to these
Right.
protests. They would
Right.
not be doing that if they were not. It is the police and ICE. They're the ones inciting this because Trump wants this to
Yep.
distract and to scare people. So I just want to make that very clear. The protesters have been so fucking peaceful. It's actually really relevant, I think, to ACOTAR, right? And just the Massverse in general. Like this, while we read these books for fun, as we should, not just her books, but pretty much I would say all of Romantasy, at least all the Romantasy I've read so far, discusses things like fascism and other types of authoritarian regimes that
Yep.
the main characters fight against, right?
Yep.
And I think that's why we're drawn to it, right? It's like, yes, of course there's the fun spice that's in it, but
Yeah.
if we just wanted fun spice, there's plenty of other romantic, spicy books out there
Yeah.
to read that don't involve any of that kind of stuff. We're drawn to it because it's about taking a stand against something. So, all this to say, part of the resistance is joy, and
Mhm.
reading these books give us joy. And also, it feels good because it's like we can do something that's joyful while also still learn about
Yeah.
this type of stuff, obviously in a fictional way, but like we've talked about many times with Akatar, it is mirroring real history.
Yep.
So,
Insert some joy. Also, just like be reminded that like you're not alone in
yeah.
your ideals.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel like right now we can feel because of the propaganda that gets thrown at us and different things, it can seem like we're alone and we're actually not. I think a lot of what's been going on has actually really shown the power of the people.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, recording our quote unquote silly little podcast, like, and you guys listening and joining in and downloading and supporting us and supporting this is also kind of our own little way of like fighting back,
Yeah.
you know?
Resisting. So,
Yeah.
I'll say, yay, radical face smut.
Yay.
I know we always say it's more than just that, but I like to joke.
Well, I think saying the radical face mutt, I feel like adding radical in the front really gives it an
Yeah.
extra little it gives it that little, it is more kind of adjective. So nice. Well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on that note, so this week was chapter 19 and 20. Also want to go ahead and apologize. The construction guys outside like have
Oh,
been relatively quiet most of this morning and have just started raging. So if you hear some weird stuff, sorry guys.
luckily to me, it just sounds like a little like knocking on your door or something. So
Hello.
it's not too bad. Real quick note before we jump into the chapters. So I'm going to do a first time thing on Cauldron Save Us. I'm actually going to save my directing writing moment for the spoiler section. So, for all the folks who are reading for the first time, you're just going to have to wait. For all the folks who have read it before, you probably already know what it is,
Yeah.
and you can listen to it in the spoiler episode. So,
Yes.
yeah.
But fret not, babies. My sound moment will be a part of this episode. So you'll get one of us nerding out about shit. So
I feel like, yeah, I can't even think of like what a spoiler sound would be in the series.
yeah, that's actually a really good point. Honestly,
Yeah,
probably more often than not, it's gonna be you
mine.
who has
Yeah.
to jump to the spoiler section. So yeah, so chapters 19 and 20. 19 is a chunky monkey. We got
It
there's a lot of fucking shit that goes on in this chapter that is like really important to the relationship of Tamlin and Feyre. Like
yeah.
a lot of kind of building block moments,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel. Um and also like just overall moments that really show I think how much their relationship is growing
Yeah.
too.
It's growing fast.
It's growing fast. She does kind of let us know in this chapter that like she's been gone for months, right?
True.
So
Yeah.
we get our first sort of like, okay, so this is actually how long it's been, you know. But yeah, it is kind of happening kind of quick.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's that classic relationship where like you've been friends with someone or colleagues with someone for like a long time and then like suddenly you both catch feels and it goes from like 0 to 100 within like a few days, you know?
Exactly. It's like all the you went from not being sure if you liked them to
Yeah.
now you're together 24/7
Yeah.
and you want to sleep over all the time and like you're now wondering how soon you can say I love you. Like
Yes.
you're like you're already in it. You're there. You've dove
Yep.
in.
They're kind of low key giving U-Haul lesbians a little bit. God bless the U-Haul lesbians. Happy Pride,
God
everyone.
bless the U-Haul lesbians. Oh my God. What's so funny is like as a bisexual woman, I'm pretty sure I'm a U-Haul bisexual.
Same.
Just in the sense of like how quickly I like get deep into relationships. Like
Yep.
literally that little story of me saying like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even know you liked them." And then all of a sudden you're with them 24/7. That was me and Jeff.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
guys,
Oh, I
Ariel had to
remember.
tell me I had a crush on him
I always forget
because I
that.
was like constantly finding ways to be with him. And then Ariel was like, "Corinne, you know you have a crush on Jeff, right?" And I was like, "What?"
Me? No.
And then it changed. And then like literally the next day I like said something to him. We kissed for the first time and then it was like I never came home. I was
Yeah.
just like
Well,
always at Jeff's house.
that was the same with me and David, straight up. I think with the exception of, like, the holiday breaks and, like, when he worked at camp that summer, like, we did not spend the night away from each other, and
Yeah.
then 9 months into our relationship, I actually moved in with him.
Yeah.
So, we're U-Haul bisexuals with
We
our.
are U-Haul bisexuals. Well, cause then when you guys were gonna move to New York and I'm looking for my own apartment, and Jeff finally at one point is just like, "What are you doing? Why are you looking for another apartment? You're just gonna be here all the time. You should just move in with me." I
Yeah.
was like,
Yep.
Are we sure?" He's like, "I mean, yeah, you basically live with me already. Like,
Yeah.
let's just get her done." And I think that was like a little over a year of us being
Yeah.
together that we were like, "Sure."
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so
Yeah, Tamlin and Feyre are moving pretty fast, and it starts to move pretty fast when he takes her to this gallery, especially,
oh
that he
god,
has in his manor, which I was just so happy for her, girl. Getting to
I
finally
know.
see some art, which, like,
I know.
Lord knows when the last time she saw, like, fine art.
Right. Right. I was thinking about this too, where I was just like, "Oh man, like she has basically been using the natural world to like
Yeah.
be her gallery pretty
Yeah.
much."
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think now if in the earlier chapters if they even really talk about like her viewing beautiful masterpieces when she was a kid when
Ooh.
they were rich or anything like that. Like I'm trying to think if they've ever I feel like it's more just her like appreciating colors and art with like within the world. And
Yeah.
so like strong chance this is like one of her first times getting to really just stand in awe and like I feel like this whole experience of this gallery of him fixing it up for her and then her getting to just stand and just enjoy, it's got to be pretty overwhelming for her.
Yeah.
Because when has she ever gotten to just like experience just pure joy?
Yeah.
And like and and also to then do an activity for just the joy of doing it.
Right.
Like, this is someone hardcore coming out of survival mode,
Yeah.
right? Survival mode when she was with her family. And then honestly, this first section with her in the spring court hasn't been like we talked about in the last episode. It has not been all sunshine and rainbows,
Right.
right?
Well, and, like, she even asks, like, she's questioning it, right? She asks him, "Why are you doing
Yeah.
this for me?" Like, she doesn't understand that someone can just do an act of kindness for the sake of wanting to see her happy, right?
Yeah.
Which I think kind of answers that question, right?
Yeah.
Of, like, when has she gotten to just be and enjoy? And at the bare minimum, I don't think since childhood. And I kind of question if ever really,
Yeah.
like, even if in childhood,
Yeah.
because, like, she had a lot of societal expectations, I think, as a kid, like belonging to being the daughter of the Prince of Merchants. She had certain roles I'm sure she had to play and ways she had to behave. And I don't think she's just gotten to be Feyre, right?
No, exactly. Like I it's got to just feel so like foreign to
Yeah.
her. Cause like I know I've kind of obviously not to this degree, but I kind of think like you and I both have sort of had like these moments in our lives where all of a sudden we realize like we can just be doing certain things for like joys, like for
Yep.
just the sake of it making us happy. And
Yeah.
that's like we're not we're like not really trained as like humans to at least maybe like Americans
Yeah.
or women in America or like I don't know what the like big combo of all of that is, but we're not really trained to just like enjoy and like and that being a productive thing to do,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of the time when I'm experiencing something, when I'm doing something that like I'm literally doing it just because it makes me happy, I'm constantly telling myself like this is okay, this is okay, this is
Yes.
productive. Like because it's like we don't view giving ourselves acts of joy as productivity. It's like
Right.
that's not, you have to be trying to get yourself money in some way. You have to be like adding to society in some kind of way. Like you have to
Yeah.
be cleaning up your home. You have to be like there's all this stuff that we view as like productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a very big theme in this series, right? Is
Yeah.
like experiencing joy
Yep.
even in the dark times. I mean, we talked about at the beginning of this episode that is resistance,
Yeah.
right? Like that is radical, especially for women, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's. I think that we're starting to see the beginnings of Feyre learning this, and it's in
Yeah.
this scene when she just gets to finally look at paintings. And I mean,
Yeah.
Tamlin even says when she asks like why do this, he says it's been a long time since there was anyone who appreciated things. I like seeing them used again. So it's like there is use in
Yeah.
just
Well, and
experiencing.
that's what I actually love about that statement of his, like that response
Yeah.
is she's actually also giving him something else to focus on besides being a high lord. This is him doing something purely for the joy of it. He's
Yeah.
doing it because it's like he knows it's going to provide her so much joy and that gives him joy and it also selfishly gives him something else to worry about besides the
Yeah.
blight, besides dead fairies showing up on his fucking border,
Right.
like it's giving him this opportunity to like focus on something else while also giving more life to his home.
Yeah.
And like that's really cool.
And ain't that just love? Like,
Oh yeah.
watching the person you love be happy and like you getting happiness from like
Oh
that's
yeah.
love, right? So
Oh yeah.
it's a very sweet moment. Like she's just so, like you said, overwhelmed with joy and just like awe at this
Yeah.
gallery.
Yeah, and I what I love is I actually think this is her bell in the library moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It wasn't a study,
No, it wasn't the
but it
literal
was
library.
this is that moment of
Yes.
like, teary-eyed, beautiful space. And what I love the whole thing too when she's talking about some of the paintings and she actually says a portal into the mind of a creature so unlike me and yet
Yeah.
I looked at its work and understood and felt and cared. And holy God, what I side note, I love this so much. Ariel and I make an outline, right? And like
Yeah.
Ariel and I will highlight like what I want to say or what she wants to say or what we both want to say. And what I loved was Ariel had already had this up here and you literally had the exact same note I did in my notes, which was hilarious.
I was about to say I was about to bring this up and then you brought it up. So look at us. Look at us.
Look at us. I mean, goddamn, if that's not the power of art, right? Of like,
Right?
of seeing a piece of like seeing into the mind of someone that is so different from you
Yeah.
and yet somehow still understanding what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Coming from a world you could never understand or you could never even begin to piece together or to
Yeah.
paint or to write about or to whatever. But
Yeah.
when you get to view it from that person's mind, goddamn, if that's just not the whole point of art in
Oh
general.
my god. It's so one, and I mean, that includes romantasy books, right?
Yeah.
Like we're literally talking about worlds that don't actually exist, right?
Yeah.
But we see ourselves. I mean, I was so grateful for Corinne not just introducing me to Akatar, but when she introduced me to Akatar, because like it came into my life and it seems to have a weird knack for doing that with a lot of readers at the exact moment I needed it.
Mhm.
Because and actually not just with the Akatar, pretty much with the entire Massverse, like all
Massverse.
16 of
Yep.
her books, they kept mirroring my life in like the most bizarre ways. I desperately needed this at like the precise moment it came into my life because of Corinne. And so, again, it's seeing yourself reflected in ways you never would have expected. And
Yep.
that's really the beauty of the scene is Feyre is finally seeing some part of herself that she's been desperate to express, desperate to see out in the world, and hasn't had the ability to because she's just been in survival mode.
Yep.
And she finally gets to. And after she gets to, what happens? She immediately gets her paints. Our girl gets her paints.
Baby girl gets some paint. Oh
Oh,
god. I love her finally getting paint.
it's so good.
And, like, I also just love how Sarah J. Maas, like, ends that little section in the book where she literally just says, "Then I began to paint." And it's
Yeah.
just, like, a break and, like, a whole other portion of the chapter starts, but it's just like, just it's just such a short sentence, but there's so much there's so much in that, and, like, I
Yeah.
just I love it, and, like, I also love this too. It's like we get this, like, passage of time, and we get this, like, a routine is starting
Yes.
where baby girl is painting all day, comes out for fresh air and food, and like the boys are all used to her being like covered in paint, and like they like giggle about it and like tease her for it, and like, you know, when Tamlin has to like go off to deal with stuff on the border, she's all like worried, but she's painting, but like she always feels a little bit safer when he's home. Like there's this like comfortable routine happening, and I I love it so much. I also really love while she's painting, she's like, I never felt satisfied that my work matched the images burning in my mind. Which,
Yeah.
goddamn, if that's not every fucking artist
Yep.
ever
Yep.
who is like always like giving giving excuses as to why it's not like this or why it's not like that or like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that just felt like such a relatable moment.
It reminded me so much as, like, a writer, just, like, being like, "I know what I'm trying to say, but I haven't found the right word," and, like, going to, like, the thesaurus or whatever and be like, "What the fuck is it?" And it's but when you get it but, yeah, it's so relatable.
Oh yeah, it's so relatable, and but I also love how it's just like the whole world seems to have like opened up to her because she's finally allowing her little painter eyeballs to like pop open and like appreciate all like the things that she's been like keeping behind closed doors
Yeah.
for a long time because she didn't have time to focus on that. And
Yeah.
now it's like all of a sudden there's not enough time in the day or in the weeks for her to like really absorb all the things she wants to absorb. I love it because also at the same time that she's finally getting to paint, she's having these fucking dreams still,
Yeah.
which are just, you know, terrifying. It
Yeah.
shows that like she's still processing like trauma. Like she's
Yes.
still having to deal with all this stuff. And but I also think it's the other reason why we hear that she's like waking up at dawn and painting
Yeah.
because she's like, well, my dreams fucking suck.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pop up here and I'm gonna go paint. But it's just like these reoccurring nightmares are totally not cool. And as someone who still suffers from nightmares, like I know this feel
Yeah.
where you try to create really good days to try to create a better night. I get a lot of what I coined like night anxiety, where it's like once it
Mm.
starts getting dark, you're like, fuck, it's time for me to go to bed soon.
Yeah.
What's going to happen tonight in my noggin? Like, it's not a fun
Yeah.
space to be in. I don't know. I mean, like, she really only mentions the dream like once.
Yeah. I would say this book in particular out of the entire series, what Sarah J. Maas is doing is she's playing with the concept of fairy tales,
Yeah.
right? And at the end of classic fairy tales, it ends with happily ever after,
Right.
right? You know, I guess it depends on which ones. The grim ones get pretty dark. But as we've seen, Feyre, basically all of Feyre's problems have been taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Her family has been given a lot of resources and are living in comfort to the point where she doesn't have to worry about them. They don't even know that she's in Prythian. They think she's with their rich aunt, right? And now she lives in the spring court, which is just it's eternal spring, right?
Yeah.
Like doesn't have to worry about the fucking weather, like let
Yeah.
alone anything else. She has her paint, she has a gallery to look at constantly. By all accounts, this is a happily ever after.
Yeah.
But there's these nightmares that
Yeah.
indicate maybe this isn't the end,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, we know it's not because we have another half a book and 4 other books. So
Yeah.
we know for sure it's not the end. But not only is it not the end, there is a reason it's not the end. And that reasoning seems to be dark because there's still this mystery of who is this she that
Yeah.
Tamlin and Lucian keep talking about? There's all these scary fae out there who want her dead. Like,
Yeah.
how is she gonna live the rest of her life, reasonably in Prythian being a human? So there's reasons for nightmares, and we're gonna
Yeah.
keep finding out why.
Yeah, and what I do think is interesting though is I realized I don't think I clocked this the first time I read this chapter was that at the end of this description of the nightmare, she does say, and though my dreams continue to be plagued by the deaths I witnessed, blah 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 blah. She said, I slowly stopped being so afraid. Stay with the
Mm,
High Lord, you will be safe. So I did. So
yeah.
there's also this element of like Tamlin has sort of turned into her like tonic. Like
Yeah.
one of the things that I really loved was like when she even says like sometimes when she couldn't figure out how to like really paint the spring court because how do you paint magic? It must be infuriating to try to paint like a vibe, right?
It truly is, like,
Like how do you
magic.
how do you paint a feeling? Like it's I mean, trust
Yeah.
me, I have tried. It's really
Yeah.
fucking hard. I've tried to paint a lot of stuff like for just my mental health of like trying to be able to explain how
Yeah.
my brain works and I did accomplish that once, which was really exciting. I can't believe I accomplished it. But so when she can't figure out how to do that. I love she has this moment where she's like, I dared to paint the High Lord. And what I love about this quote is she says, I dared to paint the High Lord who rode at my side when we wandered his grounds on lazy days.
Mm,
The High Lord whom I was happy to talk to or spend hours in comfortable
yeah.
silence. This is a wild, to me, this is a very big deal, this quote, because
Yes.
it's really showing us where her and Tamlin are at
Yeah.
at at this point. Because I think a lot of like romance style stuff, sometimes we get so focused on the spice, we get so focused on the physical
Yeah.
that I think sometimes the writers don't give us like an actual like connection or like friendship or
Yeah.
like relationship.
Yep.
We're like, okay, we know they're fucking hot for each other, like in
Right.
these other books, but you're just like, but I want to know, like, can they talk for hours?
Right. Is it just horniness, or are they, like, actually are they truly meant to be because they work as 2 people
Yeah.
together?
But this like wondering on lazy days and being able to sit in comfortable silence, like if any of you guys any kind of relationship, friendships,
Yeah.
romantic, anything, once you reach that level of being able to sit in comfortable silence, like
Ugh,
that
it's the
is a
best.
level of
Yeah.
closeness that is so important. So I love this quote because like in such a short little few sentences, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've gotten there.
Yeah.
We're at a spot where you guys are like they're friends
Yeah. And maybe more.
and maybe more. But then it really this whole little cute moment really takes a turn, doesn't
With the
it?
family stuff. Yeah.
I literally wrote, I was like, baby girl gets one reminder of home and begins spiraling.
Oh, and it's so sad, and, kinda going back to what we were talking about with the dreams, like, aside from the actual scary things out there, like, the bog and stuff like that, Feyre still has a lot psychologically to work out in regards to
Yes.
her family. So,
Yeah.
the quote that really just made me so sad about this is on page 171. She says, Tamlin providing for them or no, glamoring their memories or no, I'd been erased from their lives, forgotten. I'd let him erase me. He offered me paints and the space and time to practice. He'd shown me pools of starlight. He'd saved my life like some kind of feral knight in a legend, and I gulped it down like fairy wine. I was no better than those zealot children of the blessed. This is really significant. And I think
Yeah.
this is, I would argue, part of the reason they haven't really acted yet on their romantic feelings for one another. And I think
Mm.
it's really understandable because Tamlin did do all that, right?
Yeah.
And we could, I'm sure, argue till the cows come home about, his reasonings for it and whether they were noble or not. But at the end of the day, I don't
Yeah.
know if that really matters,
Yeah.
right? Because the fact of the matter is, her family forgot her, and it's because Tamlin glamored them. And I
Yeah.
think he had very good intentions.
Yes.
I believe him when he says, I did it so that way your father wouldn't try to come and find you because he would be killed, right? Um, if he even made it all the way to Prythian. But it still hurts. All
Yeah.
that work that Feyre did to keep her family alive, they don't remember.
Yeah. And also, like, I don't know if anyone's ever experienced like moving from a place,
Mm,
but like realizing an area has moved on without you. That their cycle of time has continued
yeah.
is really rough, because like that's basically where all this starts coming from her, right? Is like she smells the like season change from the human side, right? Like there's some sort
Yeah.
of vibe, and all of a sudden she realizes how long she's been gone, and then she's like, oh fuck. And then she starts hardcore spiraling, right? She has like a PMSy day. She won't talk to anybody at dinner. She goes out on her own little pissy walk into the garden, right? And she's going through this whole thought process, and like literally this whole day just makes me think of literally when any woman has that first PMS day where
Yeah.
anything anyone does around you, like you're like, don't breathe like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
As someone who just had one of those days, man,
Yeah,
it's
it's rough, but this one feels even like that one is very justified, but this even feels even more justified because baby girl
yeah.
is just like, I mean, this kind of goes back to actually how we started this episode of like she's battling the fact that she has been just experiencing things for joy.
Yeah.
And then while she's been caught up in that, she's realizing that the people she used to feel responsible for have probably forgotten about her.
Yeah.
And that this guy that has become her tonic is the reason why.
Yeah.
And like that's a lot to fucking stomach, right? And she's like
Yeah.
walking through the garden, like pulling roses and bleeding from the thorns and shit. Like
Yeah.
she's mad. She's very
Oh,
angry.
yeah.
It's a sticky situation because like I agree. I think Tamlin did it with the greatest of intentions for her. Slightly controlling, yes.
Yeah.
But if anyone's read a lot of fairy books, old Fae are pretty controlling. So
Very
whatever. But
controlling, and it's kind of a
this
kink.
and exactly. And but this feels like almost one of the like most acceptable ways of controlling, because it's
Yeah.
like it's protecting her family, it's protecting her,
Yes.
but the reality of it is that it still sucks, right? It's the two truths
Mhm.
situation.
Well, and also, I think, and I don't think she's conscious of this, but I would argue, I think Feyre is kind of realizing it's not really even Tamlin she's mad at.
Exactly.
She's mad, I think, at her dad. I mean, her whole family, but her dad especially, because on page 171, she says to Tamlin, all those years, what I did for them, and they didn't try to stop you from taking me. They didn't try and stop you. I think what she's upset at is Tamlin taking her revealed what was already there in her
Yep.
family for years, which is
Yep.
they do not appreciate all her blood, sweat, and tears that she has given them.
Yep.
And that is like extraordinarily triggering and rightfully so.
Oh yeah, it's a really hard realization to make. And what I love though about this moment is that we all would have understood if she had started just like yelling at Tamlin
Yeah.
like in this moment, especially women.
Yeah.
We hardcore would have understood this kind of, cuz like I'm still kind of viewing her in a slightly like PMSy mode
Yeah.
because she's like made this realization. And when he follows her into the garden and he literally asks like, why are you upset? And like I was so prepped for her just being like, you erased me from my family, like
Yeah.
what the fuck. And instead of doing that, she actually has this wildly emotionally mature moment. And
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, like I don't know why I feel so tremendously ashamed of myself for leaving them, why
Yeah.
it feels so selfish and horrible to paint. I shouldn't. And then it goes into your quote of the like all those years what I did for them. And she even says like in the book, it's like there it was, the giant pain that cracked me in
Yeah.
two if I thought about it for too long. Like
Yeah.
this is exactly what you and I were like, this is the answer.
Yeah.
And
It's her core
her
trauma.
personal realization. This is
Yeah.
her exactly. This is her trauma. And what I love is that we actually get a emotional, mature enough character who just says that instead of taking us through the understandable rigmarole of kind of bitching at Tamlin and then in that process realizing, oh, actually, I'm not mad at Tamlin.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually very cool that Sarah J. Maas gives us a character who gets to that point pretty
Yeah.
fast, and that Feyre even tells Tamlin
Yeah.
that she just surpasses that first defensive moment and actually is like,
Here it
here it
is.
is.
Well, and especially taking, and I'll say it again, taking into consideration this girl's only 19. And
I
like,
know,
no offense to any 19-year-olds out there, but like,
dude.
you are not, like, there are very few 19-year-olds with that level of maturity because
Bro,
you're not supposed to be that mature at that age.
dude. Well, and like it's like it's the self
Like reflection.
yes, it's the
Yeah.
self-reflection maturity because like
Yeah.
I was forced to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so I like to think I'm pretty emotionally mature, but
Yeah.
but self uh reflection shit. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This her like self-reflection ability here.
Especially in an era and a place where therapists don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is so this is so wild. And like I also love how like right after she says she has this incredible moment. She's like, but you know what? Like this is probably like, I don't know why I'm even worrying about this. This is probably so ridiculous to you because of what's going on elsewhere, which is also another very classic human female moment of
Yep.
just like, there's so much bigger fish to fry. Like, I don't know why I'm even saying this to you. And the fact that Tamlin is just like, if it grieves you,
Yeah.
then I don't think it's absurd at all.
Well, he overall handles this moment
Very well.
so not only well, but like way better than I would have expected, right? Like Mr. My claws shoot out at every fucking small thing. And we actually get our first real physical
Oh,
romantic moment.
God.
So it's a bit of a long quote, but bear with me. On pages 172 to 73, it says, "He took my hands. His calloused fingers, strong and sturdy, were gentle as he lifted my bleeding hand to my mouth and kissed my palm. As if it were answer enough, his lips were smooth against my skin, his breath warm, and my knees buckled as he lifted my other hand to his mouth and kissed it too. Kissed it carefully, in a way that made my heart begin to pounding in my core between my legs." So first real sexual moment too.
Yep.
When he withdrew, my blood shone on his mouth. I glanced at my hands, which he still held, and found the wounds gone. I looked at his face again, his gilded mask, the tanness of his skin, the red of his blood-colored lips as he murmured, "Don't feel bad for one moment about doing what brings you joy." So
Ugh.
like
Ugh.
we get this like not we get kind of a double whammy here, right? Of
I
like
know.
our first like real like tangible physical romantic moment, and we also get this moment of like literal like if you don't understand why her wound was gone, he literally healed her wound
He
by kissing it.
yes.
So it's like you
Ugh.
get this like very literal healing moment and some sexual healing.
Oh my god,
Too.
it's very hot. Cuz also
It's
like
yeah.
if you guys like just like close your eyes, like take a journey with me. Like it's nighttime. They're in this garden. He is this what like what, let's say he's like 6'5", she's like 5'6". So you got a great height difference. He's
Yeah.
like holding her like little hands and like bringing them up and just like kissing them, and she's just standing there like like this is like a very because it's sensual. That's what it is. It's
Yes. Yeah.
sensual. I also realize like I think like these books actually like kind of like expose they expose all of our particular kinks or like
I was
whatever.
gonna say.
Like, because I also realized the first time I read this book and then seeing some of other girls' reactions to like other things that happen in this book that they're not into. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I immediately thought that was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Really exposes me. Cause like
Right?
the blood shining on his lips, kind of hot.
Oh,
Like
no,
kind of
honestly.
hot. I don't know. It's very personal, and like he
Yeah.
doesn't wipe it off. Like he doesn't care, and you're just
Yeah.
like okay. But then also to have this super sensual moment,
Yeah.
right? And then he ends it with don't feel bad for one moment about doing what brings you joy. Are you
Ugh.
fucking kidding me? Like, he's
Like,
giving every woman wants this validation. We all
yes.
every person, human being wants this
Yep.
validation. And it's just like, it's the hottest thing ever.
So it's
Whew.
really hot. And like, I think for me, just like on a personal level, without getting into spoilers, new readers to Akatar, I'm just giving you a heads up. The first book is considered the least spicy out of
Yes.
the entire series.
Yes.
So don't expect it will get spicy, don't worry, but don't expect it to get like
It's not like a
as
wild amount. Yeah.
no. And some people even argue none of Akatar is that spicy. I disagree with that personally, but what I will say, and this is not to say like look, I love spice. Like fucking love Fourth Wing. I'm currently reading the Crowns of Nyaxia series. Just got to a real spicy scene in the book I'm reading. But for me, this is gonna expose a lot about me, but like when it comes to storytelling, I think the foreplay is kind of hotter,
Yes.
honestly, because
Yes.
it lasts longer and it's the anticipation, right? Like
Yes.
it's literally, when you get to like the real spice, you're literally blowing your load, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like the build up to that. And so like to me, I'm like, I love scenes like this, right? Where it's like, they're gonna fuck at some point. Like it's
Yeah.
inevitable. But it's like, okay, well, like when? Like, how much more of this are we gonna get? Is it gonna
Yeah.
get spicier soon? Is it not? Like, that's the fun of it for me. And so like I do really love the moments like this where it's like, give me the foreplay.
Oh yeah, because the anticipation is everything, right? And I hope everyone knows this feeling, but this feeling of when you are in that moment with someone where you don't know what's going to happen
Ugh,
next, but even just like breathing their airspace
it's so
is
good.
exciting.
Yeah.
Like, you even have this kind of moment in your head where, like, I mean, honestly, if me just getting to be this close to them is all I get, like, I'll be good.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, getting like reading these moments, I get thrown right back there. Heart
Yeah.
pounding, heavy breathing, like you're just aware of every single move that they make.
Yep.
And I just think this whole portion is like, it's just really well done, mainly because it's just like even the little things of like, he leaned in closer, so close that I had to tip my head back to see him. Like, that
Oh,
is a weirdly hot thing because that means
so hot.
he has like come so close to her. She has to throw her head back, which is just like a really sexy, also really good visual, guys. Like, just keep
Yeah.
in that mental space with me. That picture, it's just a really hot, like she's throwing her head back to be able to like talk to him, and like that's just very sexy. And while she's doing that, he's basically telling her that like her joy like makes him happy and that he's drawn to her,
Yep.
and all this stuff. And then we get the like, slowly, as if giving me time to pull away, he brushed his lips against my cheek, soft and warm and heartbreakingly gentle. Oh my
Well,
god.
and what I love is like this is Tamlin making a move, right? And what it does the next
Yes,
day is it basically kind of gives her the courage to make her own move, right? So
exactly.
she goes out to the woods. She feels like she's being followed. She knows
Mhm.
exactly who it is. It's Tamlin. So what does this bitch do? She sets up a snare. Or maybe it
Yeah.
was already set up. I can't remember. But he gets caught in her snare. And it's very silly. And it's also really like great getting to see Tamlin kind of like loosen up and like
Yes.
also laugh at it. Like
Yes.
he jokes about it. But she goes up to him and she starts like stroking his hair.
Oh.
Like,
Well, but it's also the fact that he, like, gives her, like, silent permission,
yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like he leans, there's something here where it says, like, he leaned his head toward me, a silent invitation, and I ran my fingers through his hair gently, carefully. He purred, the sound rumbling through my fingers, arms, legs, and core. Side note, readers, if you're new to romantasy, you're gonna see core a lot.
A lot
A
in
lot, a
every
lot, a
romance
lot.
literally every romantasy book.
Yes. And, I think we all know what that is. You know,
Yeah.
it's your nether regions. when you start feeling all warm and spicy
Your
down
bits and
south.
bobbles.
Your bits.
I was gonna say lady bits, but, people of other genders have bits
Exactly. I
too.
was about to say that too, and then I was like, no, let's be inclusive of all of our friends
Bits
here.
and bobbles, it's
Bits and
the
bobbles.
inclusive
Yeah,
term.
exactly. Oh god, but it's this whole stroking of this hair moment is like
Ugh.
very hot, and I love it so much. And then this
I know what
this
you're gonna say.
fucking dirty poem that he
Poems.
writes. Poems.
Poems. It's multiple.
Well, cuz also what I love is like he like shows her he like gives it to her.
Right.
And then before she goes too deep, he's like, before you bolt or start yelling.
Let me
Which I
explain.
love it because I just love that means that he knows her. But then also
Yeah.
we get this little thing where he's coming around to peer over my shoulder. If I had dared, I could have leaned back into his chest. His breath
Mm.
warmed my neck, the shell of my ear. Like
Ugh.
they are in their teenage
Yep.
romance. Parents are gone. We are alone in a movie theater. Like we're getting like that vibe of like any moment they can be close to each other.
Like, I can
Like
hear Teenage Dream playing in the background
yeah,
of
literally,
this
like,
scene,
exactly. They are finding all these ways to just, like, be
Yes.
close and anything. But just, like, these fucking limericks
Ugh.
they're so hilarious. And, and I love, like, we get a little bit of, like, a Tamlin history moment of, like, well, we learned that he's competitive because
Yeah.
the fact that he wanted to be really good and win these contests of, like, these dirty limericks.
Mhm.
But just the fact that when he was inspired by her list and wanted to create these poems. And I think the thing I love the most about this is that this little section ends with, when he finished, I tipped my head back and howled, my laughter
Yeah.
like sunshine, shattering age, hardened ice. Like Feyre is like, she's letting go.
Her walls are
And
crumbling.
her walls are crumbling. And I think this moment is really important to like remember because sometimes Feyre gets accused of being like kind of childish or like
Yeah.
immature.
Yeah.
And one of the things that are really striking me in this book is a lot of what we've kind of already talked about, which is she is just now starting to feel safe.
Yeah.
And she is not having to be the protector.
Yeah.
She is not having to be the provider. When you can finally start being your true self without being in survival mode, a lot of the time, that's you being a little kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
that is you running around and giggling but then also kind of being maybe a little silly about certain stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. But this like section right here is Feyre finally just getting to say whatever the fuck she wants to say or giggle about whatever she wants. Like she's getting to do that. And that is I think something really important to remember when you continue along with Feyre throughout some of these books
Yeah.
is that we kind of forget that she is learning who she is through the entirety of this series, which I think
Again,
it's
it's
really
about
important.
becoming.
I was about to say I think it's really important for people to remember when you made that statement about how
Yeah.
like this is a series about becoming.
Mhm.
We are watching Feyre grow up in this
Yep.
series. So it
Yep.
makes sense that in this first book, she's going to be pretty wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
And it kind of pisses me off when people like write her off.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, think about the trauma. And so I love this moment because it's like laughter is really important and a lot of this series in general about who makes you laugh, when you laugh, blah blah blah. And so like just this moment I think is like really really beautiful and just like this
Yeah.
reminder that she is finally being able to be like a, kind of a child because
Yeah.
she feels safe with Tamlin.
Yes. It's so important to her development, and we're gonna see that especially I think in the future books.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is in this moment of kind of childlike joy, right after we
Yeah.
get some pretty adult information and some
Yeah.
backstory to Tamlin. So we learn a lot about not just the High Fae, but his family.
Yeah.
So we find out that there is I don't even know what you call it, a thing within High Fae, where basically it's called mating, right? So he tells her that Fae do marry, and his parents did marry, but if you find your mate, which not everyone finds their mate, but if you do find your mate, they're your equal in every possible way. But also, marriage is kind of irrelevant if
Yeah.
you find your mate. It's
Yeah.
like you would get, like, I would say, dating or courting,
Yeah.
marriage above that, and then above marriage you get mates,
Yeah.
right? Mates are a big, big, big deal in this series. I think beyond Akatar and the Mask First, you get mating in other romantic books. It's a pretty common trope,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but Tamlin does tell her that his parents were both married and mates. He opens up more about how he felt about his family. So he tells her that his father was worse than Lucian's and his brothers were too. So we find out he has brothers, which I honestly always forget.
Me
I
too.
always forget that Tamlin had brothers, both of whom were older than him. And part of the reason that he thinks that they're worse than Lucian's father is all of them had slaves, human
Yep.
slaves. And his mother, who he doesn't go into as much detail about his mom, she seemed not as bad in terms of like being cruel to him, but he does say that his mother had so much love for his father that she really looked away from all the bad stuff, which is, that
Yeah.
is assisting in some inhumane
Yeah.
activities, right? We also find out that Tamlin outlasted because, like, as we established in one of the last chapters we read, when it comes to High Lords, it's not by birth order in terms of who becomes the next High Lord. It is truly like a battle between all the siblings, right? Or all the
Yeah.
brothers, whoever is the strongest of them, regardless of age and birth order, they become the next High Lord. And Tamlin tells Feyre that the reason his brothers never viewed him as a threat is Tamlin decided really young he didn't want to become a High Lord, and that's why he joined his father's warband. Is he basically
Yeah.
was like, if I can prove that I am an asset when it comes to war and being a warrior, I can show my family I want nothing. I want nothing to do with the family business, basically.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And then the other big thing that all I'm gonna say is just tab this in your mind, new readers. We find out that Tamlin's entire family was killed by a High Lord of an enemy court.
Yep.
So we don't know which court, but we know it's an enemy court.
It's pretty tragic. This whole summary situation of his life is just pretty fucking tragic. It's like
Yeah.
he had a monster of a dad, he had monsters of brothers, he had a very kind of caring mom, like, but
Yeah.
she loved him, she loved the dad too much.
Yeah.
And that clouded her mind. And I also think what's really sad is that it really feels like Tamlin earned a lot of self-worth by being a good killer.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that is very troubling and
Yeah.
can also explain a lot of Tamlin's, like, we hear about some of his brutality a little bit in the beginning of the book. Like, we hear some of these things. It's a little concerning. Not in that I'm, like, worried for Feyre, but more just, like, for Tamlin. Like, that's a really rough way to come up. And
Yeah.
I think also just, like, it's another example of how, like, this world does not breed compassion, like, at
No.
all. Like, it's every person for themselves, even if you're related. In
Yeah.
fact, it's worse if you're related.
It affects when Tamlin does become the High Lord, which
Yeah.
again he didn't want to be, so
Yeah.
this is forced upon him. Um, he mentions how his father's courtiers, a lot of them defected because they viewed him as a warrior beast, which
Yeah.
Feyre really relates to. And she
Hardcore relates
says
to.
hardcore on page 177, she says, a half wild beast Nesta had once called me. Like, she's seeing bits of herself in Tamlin. She too didn't want to be the person to keep her family alive. right?
Yeah.
She had to take on responsibility she was far too young to take on, and she never wanted to take on. Very similar in different ways, but in a lot of ways similar to Tamlin. So
Yeah.
it's showing that it makes sense that these two are not just coming together on a just person to person understanding level, but are starting to have romantic feelings for one
Yeah.
another. They're kind of trauma bonding.
Hardcore. Well, and what I love too is like Feyre has this moment after the half wild beast moment. She's like, then they're idiots. Like she
Yeah.
defends him to him, which like we've all done for the people that we love and that we care about. We
Yeah.
do the like, don't don't talk about my friend that way. Like I'm
Yeah.
mad at you for even listening to these people. Like like she is like she's literally like they're stupid because
Yeah.
you're doing what you need to do to figure it out. So if anyone doesn't, you know, like see that, then fuck them. Like she is
Yeah.
like she already is doing like
The
that's my
defensive.
man kind of like vibe a little
Yeah.
bit, and also what I think is really interesting is she has this moment when she's learning about the mating bond or learning about the mate, like
Oh,
being mates, where she even kind of thinks like, oh, I'm not going to ask if humans and fays, like if they mate,
yeah.
which is you're like, oh girl, you're thinking about that?
We're planning the
Oh,
wedding, apparently.
oh girl. Oh my God, girl. And
Yeah.
I think it's, and what's funny is like with both of these, so we have the garden and then we have like the forest moment and then this other garden moment. Each time there's like a little bit of something too at the end that like stops them from kind of like getting closer, right?
Yes.
So like our first garden moment, Tamlin kind of snaps himself out of it with this like one day there'll be answers for everything, he said, releasing my hand and stepping away, but not until the time is right. So I feel like he slips into like High Lord mode where he's just
Yeah.
like, my duty, I can't focus on this human right now. Like I have, I have a duty. And then the thing that kind of stops things from getting like spicier out in the woods is they end up walking into this garden again and they start talking about family and like all this stuff and it's like a little rough, but then she kind of defends him, so it's kind of this other cute moment. And then all of a sudden we see these like bonfires, and so
Mhm.
we're starting to learn about Calanmai, right? We're
Oh,
starting to
Calanmai.
whatever the fuck at this point is Calanmai. At this point, we kind of just learn that it's like, it's fire night, and we kind of, to me, like I was just like, okay, like Fae party, cool, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's also kind of scary because we're realizing that like, well, first of all, we like learn that they don't celebrate holidays in the human lands, which like you had brought up before.
Yeah.
And also just how like I keep forgetting that this world doesn't consist of just Tamlin, Feyre, and Lucian. Like
Right.
it's like this reminder that like there's this whole other world. I mean, obviously we know that, but like these a couple chapters, we kind of get stuck in our little like romance world.
Yes.
And we also learn that like it is dangerous because she cannot come. She is
Yeah.
not allowed to go, which is
She's not invited
very
to the party.
annoying.
What's even weirder, so Tamlin doesn't just say, "Hey, you're not," he like demands that Feyre stays
Oh,
inside the house during
yeah.
this. And he's very vague when Feyre is like, "What is Calanmai?" He says, this verbatim, "It's just a spring ceremony. We light bonfires and the magic that we create helps regenerate the land for the year ahead." She asks him, "How do you create the magic?" And he just says, "There's a ritual, but it's very, very fairy." Okay. Which,
Okay.
what the fuck does that mean?
Well, I mean, like, if you've read any other fairy books, my brain goes to two completely different places, which my
Mm-hmm.
brain goes on one end, it's some really wildly animalistic, violent thing
Yep.
with some pretty gnarly sacrifice situations,
Yeah.
or wildly animalistic, sexy time shit.
Right.
So, like, like to me, those are the two worlds of the very, very fairy. Like that's the only thing I can think of. So like,
Yep.
and the fact that she can't come makes me feel like it could be a little bit of column A, column B.
Yeah. We
A
don't
lot.
know.
We don't know. Luckily we don't have long till we get
No.
to find out.
No.
But it's still it's so vague and it's very annoying that it's just so classic, like, oh yeah, Feyre's the human, so she can't go.
Right.
But we also don't really get to continue this conversation because then Tamlin switches, right? They have this whole bit with some invisible creature in the garden, which this is my sound moment
Yes.
of this week. There's a lot of different reasons why this is my sound moment. It's not just because when she describes which we learn this creature, it's called the adder. It's not just
Yes.
because the description of his voice, which is really incredible. Inside that hissing voice, I'd heard the screaming of human victims, the pleading of
Ugh.
young maidens whose chests had been split open on sacrificial altars. It's not just
Whew.
that, but that's an incredible sentence. It's this overall entire scene because we do not see this creature at all. It's completely invisible
Yeah.
to Feyre. It does seem like the boys can see it
Yeah.
from what the vibe is from this whole conversation. But yeah, it does seem like they can see it. So I just feel like this is a crazy sound opportunity because you create the character purely by sounds,
Yeah.
right? You're not looking at anything. All you're doing is hearing. And we get little clues. We get leathery wings. Like a flap of leathery wings boomed. A foul wind bit my face. So we get stuff, like we get these little other bits of just explanation of like what this thing could sound like, and it's the hissing and it's the voice, and then also she can tell when the voice like turns
Yeah.
to each person. And so it's a really cool sound moment of the sound is the entire creation of this character. There's just so many things here that you can play around with that to really create the world of this creature.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you begin to create a voice that makes you hear all of that. I'm just more imagining that it's like a really terrifying voice. And it's more that like she can hear that this creature would have has tortured victims and like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's not like you're actually hearing screams coming from
Right.
the hiss. I mean, you know me. I love, like, one of my favorite things is to think of like creating a soundscape and people have to just stare at a black screen, right?
Yeah.
Like I love creating worlds through sound. So I just think you have so much to play around with here. And also like it's a garden, like I'm assuming there's gravel paths, like I think they say it. So I'm thinking like we could hear some like foot shuffling of
Yeah.
this creature. I'm assuming talons. I don't know if they even say that, but I don't know. I'm just fucking leaning in. I just feel like if it's got leathery wings, there's no way that this is like a normal elsewhere creature.
Right. We'll probably go into this more so in the spoiler section, but I don't think it's spoiling anything saying like it's very clear that what the Adder, Lucian, and Tamlin are talking about is important. We don't know
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
it's saying to them. Like we know it's referencing the she that keeps coming up. We don't understand quite the context of everything it's saying, but it's very clearly important because not only of what it brings up, but the fact that Tamlin wants Feyre to stay hidden, right?
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big moment that I know I certainly forgot about in the book until we got to it. But yeah, it made when you told me this was your sound moment, I'm like, of course this is your sound
Yeah.
moment. Like that makes so much sense.
Well, there's just so much creepiness to play around with it, and I just think like you could have a lot of fun in post figuring out how to do this. But yeah, this whole conversation, I feel like this conversation is finally like confirmation that this she we have been hearing about, it's all the same. It's
Yeah.
the same she,
And she's real bad.
and she's real bad. She's the one dumping bodies. It kind of sounds like she might have sent the Naga because the fact that
Yeah.
they mention the death of the Naga, it's like, okay, so she do that too? Also, like how powerful she is, and these kind of statements of like you're losing time or like time's almost up, like all this kind of stuff. Like for me, it's like, did she create the blight? Because it's just feeling a little too like
Aligned with one another. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's becoming a little too aligned of just like all these things.
Certainly seems to have something to do with the blight. at least.
Yeah, it also sounds like Lucian and Tamlin are, like, fighting. They're fighting this thing
Yeah.
of, like, Tamlin will not bow. Tamlin will not like, he won't cow down to anything, but we also, again, are getting this constant reminder of that she's extremely powerful because, like,
Yeah.
the Adder says stuff of, like, she holds the fate in your hands. With one word, she could destroy this pathetic estate. Like, we've really upped
The
the
ante.
the fear factor, I think, of whoever
Yeah.
this, like, she is.
Yeah.
And also this kind of it kind of this kind of reminder of, like, we've heard how horrible families are to each other in this world.
Yeah.
How awful are enemies to each other?
That's a
So
great point.
I actually think she even says that. She's like, a high lady or how ruthless the high fae were to their families. They had to be nightmares
Mm.
to their enemies. This is like this is some scary shit. So it's like I love this. Like, we have all this cute romantic stuff, and then just bring us back down. Remember, there's evil. Fuck.
Right.
Everyone has responsibilities. God damn it.
Well, and it rocks Feyre so much that she goes on the next day to actually paint
Yeah.
what she thinks the adder looks like. She hasn't seen it because it's invisible to her at least, but she paints it.
For what it's pretty wild that she paints this all off of an inspiration of just, like, what she hears. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty, because it doesn't actually say in the chapter at all that she paints it because she thinks it's the adder. She literally
Yeah.
just said, I sat down and I painted this thing,
Yeah.
and, like, and that's it, and she just, like, moves on. But, like,
Yeah.
it's, as a reader, it seems pretty obvious that she's painting what she felt like she heard the day before.
Right. Right. So yeah, she paints this thing, the adder, and then she goes downstairs. It's the day of Calanmai, we find out. And she weirdly doesn't see Tamlin or Lucian all day until that night. Like, she's kind of like, where are they? They're not in their usual places. I don't think this gets mentioned, but she presumably has lunch or breakfast and they're not there. But she does run into Tamlin that night on his way out to the Calanmai celebration. And it's a little hot because she
Yeah.
describes him and she says he was shirtless with only the baldric across his muscled chest. The pommel of his sword glinted in gold in the dying sunlight, and the feather tops of the arrows were stained red as they poked above his broad shoulder. So this kind of goes back to what you were saying about, like, what the fuck is this holiday ceremony ritual, and, like, is it sexy? Is it violent? We're kind of getting the vibe that it, like you said, it could be some column A, column B. Like, it's possibly both. And all really he tells her when she asks about it is, he says on page 184, as a high lord, I have to partake in the great rite. So there's this thing called the great rite, but we don't know what it is. But the way he is dressed or undressed, I guess, sort of in this case, has to do with that. So we're getting more questions than answers.
Yeah, and, like, literally in my notes, I wrote, like, why he gotta look like that when she can't join?
Why you gotta be a thirst trap? Why does he have to be a snack?
Yeah, why you gotta look so fucking, like, hot, and she just has to stay inside the house? Also, during this whole day, there's been, like, slow drumming going on.
Yeah.
While
That she's,
everyone's,
like,
like, getting ready. Like,
that
there's,
she's
like,
drawn to.
she's drawn to. She can smell the magic, and, like, she's been, like, alone and kind of forgotten, like, all day, and all of a sudden homie
Yep.
shows up looking like a fucking sexy ass warrior. Fuck off. Are you kidding?
And
What the fuck's she supposed to do?
and now he's not just saying you have to stay in the house. He's like, you
Yeah.
have to stay in your fucking room. Which,
Yeah.
like, why is that?
And he's like, "Don't come out till morning. Just do it." And she's even like, "Are you going into battle? Like, what the fuck is happening?" And he just laughs at her and tells her to stay in her chamber, which
Yep.
is just so annoyingly sexy. And you're just like, "Ah, my god!" Like, I just feel so bad, like, for Feyre and, like, this whole moment, because you're just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, come on. Come on. You expect Feyre to just be like, okay. What?
Sure.
No.
But what I love is she does exactly what I'm sure all of us are
Oh, yeah.
screaming for her to do, which is she basically says, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. Like, Leroy Jenkins, I'm going in. Like,
Yeah, yeah, dude, I literally wrote, "God, I love her." Imagine a guy you have a crush on leaves the house for a great rite with weapons, tells you to stay away. You see the bonfires, you hear the drums. You're gonna go.
yeah, no question. So she gets on her
Yeah.
horse. She goes to where this bonfire has been set up, and boy, is it a scene.
Yeah, like, this whole situation is, like, very interesting because she's surrounded this is the most she's ever been surrounded by other fae. She sees they have masks, but
Mhm.
also this, like, weird thing starts happening, right? Where she's
Yeah,
realizing that she can't, like, focus on anyone's face.
right.
Like, something magical is clearly happening. So she's learning that she's been glamored, which, okay, question mark. What?
Mhm.
Who did that? Did Tamlin do that? Is it a human thing? Like, can she not see
Lot
true
of questions.
There's a lot of questions here. Already, I just think there's this also slow realization that like I know for me reading this part, this is a dangerous situation for Feyre
Oh, yeah.
because she is surrounded. Like, she is a human and they can smell. Like, I feel like this had to be a moment when all of a sudden she gets in the middle and she's like, it might have gotten in over my head. Like,
Maybe it was a
this
bad
feels,
idea.
yeah, this feels a little bit like curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah,
But then we get this, like, we see everyone like lined up in front of a cave,
with a
and the
rug.
cave has like has a pelt
Yeah.
there, and I'm just like, okay,
S
so
Starting to give some
what?
Burning Man vibes a little bit.
Some Burning Man vibes. It's also just like it definitely gives you this. We're back to being really unclear
Yeah.
on if this is a sexy time thing or if this is a dangerous thing. And also, I'm coming from this place of knowledge of fantasy books.
Yeah.
Farah does not have this,
No.
right? So Farah is looking at everything thinking he means dangerous, like violent, right?
Which it could be.
Yeah, but like this looks like a sleepover in a den. Like, what are we doing? Like, she's
Yeah.
like, this is why he thought I couldn't be here, you know?
Right.
But then, of course, classic
Then
girl alone at a party. What happens? Gets cornered by 3 fucking gross dudes.
yeah.
Classic.
And they're not chill. Chill is just gone.
These are not our dudes. Let me tell
No.
you.
I really got you with that one, didn't I?
These guys are not chill. Oh,
Not of I.
wow. That
Like,
was really
this
good.
honestly, oh, this is dark, but this
Do
is
it.
dark. It feels like the girl who's never been to a frat party
Yes,
and she
1000%.
goes
Yep.
alone
Yep.
and she does not know what that entails.
And
Like,
she doesn't have the unfortunate street smarts to know what that means and how she needs to carry herself. And
yes.
yep.
Yeah,
That
very,
100%.
very I mean, I think anyone who lives in a female body knows the horror of the
Yes.
situation, right?
Yes. This is terrifying.
It's terrifying. Especially because she actually can see the faces of these fae and she
Yeah, they don't have
recognizes
masks on.
we're going to talk more about that in the spoiler section because I have questions. They don't have masks on, but also the swirling glamour shit is not affecting them. So, or at least her perception of them. So she can see their
Yeah.
faces. They're humanoid, but they're not, she can tell they're not high fae. So I have questions about
Mhm.
that. And they also say some very cryptic things. So when she tells them, leave me alone, one of them
Yeah.
says, bold statement from a human on Calanmai.
Which
Yeah,
what
which
does
what
that
does that
mean?
mean? And then the other says, once the rite's performed, we'll have some fun, won't we? A treat. Such a treat to find a human woman here. So what does
Wh-
that mean? What the
yeah,
fuck does that mean?
so many questions. Like, why is it such a big deal that she, a human, is there on
Yes.
Calamai, and what's gonna
Yes.
happen at the rite? Yeah, like
Yes.
it's wildly cryptic. I mean,
But
I did think though that this, like, not fully humanoid, so then she knew it was not high fae. I do
yeah.
think that actually kind of answers some of the questions we had in some of the past chapters of
Yeah.
just like, how do we know what's considered like a lesser fairy, or how do you know the
Right.
difference between high fae or whatever? I actually think this might be our answer of
Yeah.
like fully humanoid are high fae. And then if
Yeah.
there's anything that is not fully humanoid, it is a lesser fairy. At
Well,
least that's how I read that.
but Tamlin servants are lesser fae and they look humanoid. So we got some
That's a
questions
good point.
about that. But
Yeah.
going back to this dangerous situation Feyre's in. Luckily, we're not going to find out what these guys want to do to her because a stranger comes and rescues her and basically does what every good man out there should do, which is he pretends to know her and
Yep.
says, "Ah, there you are. I've been looking for you."
Yep.
And tells the men, the Fae, the ones who have been attacking her, "Thank you for finding her for me." They seem scared of him, right?
Yeah,
Which
which
brings up
is
some
like
questions.
very interesting how scared. Like there's multiple things at the end of this chapter that basically say like how scared they are of him.
Yes.
And also like I do like that there's some of the language that Sarah J. Maas uses here that when she gets grabbed, but sturdy hands grasped me. They were
Mhm.
strong hands, warm and broad. I love that language because we immediately know whoever's grabbing her is a friend. Like,
Yes.
so when you first read it, you're kind of like, ooh, is it Tamlin?
Yeah.
Right? And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, when they say it's a voice I never heard, you're like,
Who
what
is
the
it then?
fuck? And then when she says, standing before me was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. What
Mhm.
the fuck? Like,
Mhm.
this is quite a moment in the romance world because you're just kind of like, wait a minute. Come on. We were just getting in there with Tamlin. And like I have questions when she says like most beautiful man because is it like beautiful like he's like pretty? Like he's like
Right.
too, to the point where like she wouldn't really be attracted to him just cuz like he's so, you know what I mean? There's characters like
Yes.
that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a lot here, but I got to say, I love the old protect you by pretending we're together. I love it.
It's
I
truly
love
I
it.
feel like women are really used to this, right? Like, you see it all the
Unfortunately.
time of, like, you see a girl out and about who's clearly, like, a man is, like, making her feel uncomfortable, and, like, you see all the time, like, a complete stranger will go up to her and be like, "Oh my god, girl, like, I haven't seen you forever," to get her away from that situation. That's what this
Yeah.
guy does, and it's like,
100%.
we love an ally.
We love an ally.
Um, we know even though he's scary, we know he's in some way good, not just because of that, but also, like you said, the languaging that Mama Mass does of like comfortable, warm hands on her. So there's
Yeah.
some indicator here. This guy, this guy is a
Hopefully.
friend, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, and that's where the chapter ends.
We're so
We're
evil.
we're so evil. But next week we're gonna read chapters 21 through 22. We're gonna get some more info on Calamai because we got to find out who this person is, what
Who
the fuck
is
is
this guy?
happening.
Is he actually good?
Yeah,
I mean, we know we're in a better position than we were in before. So,
very much so. Well, hopefully.
hopefully.
you know. That's it for this week. I've been waiting. I've been waiting to get to
Yeah,
Calanmai.
Calanmai is quite a time.
It's a
So,
time. It's a big moment in this book and the whole series.
yeah.
So, very excited to be here. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us on this beautiful Calanmai.
Yeah, on this beautiful time there'll be much more to come and as always if you guys want to support us or help us out, subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can follow us on the TikTok, the Instagram, Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. Or if you just want to say hi or, tell us like how funny we are or,
Pretty or,
how
anything like that.
pretty. If you're wanting to chat, say hi or whatever, email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thanks.
And as always, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. Bye.
Bye.